Ozzy Osbourne went on the Jack Osbourne podcast, Trying Not to Die, and talked about how it was growing up with not Jack Osbourne, but Ozzy Osbourne as a father. And it was such an wholesome podcast. I'm so happy that Louis and Jack are good friends because Louis is from the first marriage of Ozzy Osbourne and he got the troubled years right. So their upbringing, oh my God, that was a very, very difficult word. Upbringing was very different. So Louis was the youngest of the three siblings from the first marriage. It was Elliot who was adopted by Ozzy, and it was Jessica. And they have been completely out of the spotlight. Anyways, I'm very happy to show you guys two clips from the podcast. My English, I'm so sorry for my English. I'm a Norwegian. You can see that from the flag. Living in the Norwegian woods, freezing my ass off, talking about the Osbournes. Well, let's go to the clip. And in the first clip, Louis is talking about how it was growing up with being one of the Osbournes. And the first thing you can see, there's like he is the spitting image, a little bit more chubby, but the spitting image of Ozzy. He looks so much alike him. And he was born and raised in Birmingham. So he is a proper Brummie. Brummie is what they call when you come from Birmingham. And he is so funny, down to earth and real and authentic. And you will see that. So it's just like, it's such a different conversation when it's Louis, it's who is in the spotlight and not Jack talking about the loss of his dad. But let's just watch the first clip.
Can we get a little bit of the relationship with,
Sure.
your father and stuff? I want to hear some good stories or things like that and how you guys grew up and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, where do we start? I mean, obviously, I'm 10 years older than Jack.
Yes, I know that.
So,
So he knew Dad in a time that I didn't know my dad.
yeah. I mean, I knew Dad in a time when Dad probably didn't even know who Dad was. But no, I remember as a kid, like earliest memories of Dad. He was always look, put it this way, he was always away on tour a lot from when I was a kid.
Okay.
I was born in 1975, so I was born smack in the middle of the Sabbath years. My mum and dad separated in around 80, 81. And then I think Sharon and Dad married in 82, I think.
82, 83,
yeah. I remember being on the diary. I'm on the front of the Diary of a Madman. I'm the kid in the corner.
That's amazing.
So I remember being at that shoot that day with my mum.
You'd have been like 6.
Sorry?
Were you like 6 or 5?
5 or 6, yeah. So I remember being at the shoot that day at a place in London, and I remember going down with Dad and my mum and your mum being there as well.
Oh, that's amazing.
I remember I was having this conversation with Melinda and Michael as well, actually, and we confirmed the dates. I remember seeing Bon Scott play with AC/DC at a place called Bingley Hall in Stafford.
Oh, wow.
And Bingley Hall in Stafford was actually like it was a hall and a concert hall, but it was kind of like corrugated iron kind of.
You saw them back
building. Yeah, it was one of those old school. But even because we worked out it was the 8th of November 1979 that AC/DC with Bon Scott played. So I was 4. And I remember going and sitting on the balcony of Bingley Hall watching AC/DC with Bon Scott with my dad.
That's cool.
Gracious.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
I remember
that
that.
is really, really cool.
Do you remember going to Sabbath concerts back then?
I don't remember
Must have been
going to
too young,
Sabbath
no?
concerts. I mean, they were split up by 78. But what I do remember is the house that we lived in, Bulrush Cottage. Dad built a studio at the back of it, and it had a rehearsal space and its own bathroom. A sound room behind the double glazed glass, and then a big rehearsal space. Wasn't that well soundproof, but I do remember Sabbath rehearsing in that space and watching and listening to them there, and the neighbours complaining.
Yeah,
even though in the countryside, the neighbours were only like 300 or 400 meters away, kind of thing. And I do remember that. But then, I always find this quite funny, and it's a testament to Dad that, like, when my mum and Dad separated and then your mum and Dad got together, I mean, they bought a house in Staffordshire to start with, a place called Offley Rock, which wasn't that far from us. But then I used to spend a lot of time around that time getting picked up and driven around by two of my dad's PAs who are, and Jack and I always laugh about this. One of them was called Pete Mertens, who was my dad's best friend from school and became his kind of like PA.
I think like it's so cool the way he speaks about Ozzy Osbourne. He's so respectful, even though it was the difficult years. It was the difficult years for Jessica and Louis and Elliot. It was the crazy years of Ozzy Osbourne. And of course, it was a messy divorce. But, the first wife, Thelma, she has never ever spoken about it. And I think like props to her, because she could really do a grift on just milking the cow on how horrible things were. And, it's never easy when you get the divorce and then he moves on with another wife and gets another kids. And, it gets, the tension will rise. So I think this is so cool. But moving on to the next clip. And in this clip, Jack Osbourne asks Louis about, you can hear the question yourself, but from Jack and Sharon and Kelly's perspective, they've been taken away by the outpouring of love that they experience after Ozzy's loss. And then you can listen to Jack's question, almost the same question, just like what Louis has been experienced after the loss of their daddy.
Wow. Wild times. How have you since Dad's passed, is there what's been the standout thing for you that you were like, I was not expecting that?
The volume of people at the Cortege. Is it Cortege or Cortege? I never get that right.
I just call it procession.
Procession, yeah. I honestly thought, I mean, the show was hugely emotional. We were having a good old cry together at one point.
Yeah.
Because it's my hometown where the Cortege was. I live in Birmingham still. And I know the street that it was going to be on. And as we turned onto the street, or just slightly before we turned onto the street, I just thought it was going to be like 2 or 3 people deep for like half a kilometre before where the Black Sabbath bridge was, and it would be a throng. As we came towards the street and turned onto the street, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now. Like, it was fucking insane. Like, people climbing up lampposts, hanging out of windows, standing on top of bus stops to get a look of it.
Crazy.
It was awe-inspiring.
Yeah, it really was.
It was awe-inspiring. And then once we'd all got out the cars and shown our respects and put some flowers down and moved on again, it kept on going for another half a mile, and then people were following us all around town, and it was I knew people loved him, but I didn't have a sense of how many and how much, really, is what I would say. It's been quite humbling in many ways. But yeah, that's probably the most standout thing. And then also, I mean, I've always known his music. I mean, honestly, personally, I'm more of a Sabbath fan than I am of his solo work. It's not to say I don't love his solo work as well, but I always say like Sabbath's like in my bones. It's in my genes. That's from when I was born kind of thing. But I just never, I've come to terms with or got my head around the fact of just how much of a cultural impact he had and how culturally important he was.
Yeah, amazing.
And I didn't really gather that. I didn't really, again, it's not taking it for granted. It's just,
when you're in it, you don't see it.
No.
Like when you're in the eye of the storm, you can't, because you're just like, it's just Dad.
yeah. And yeah, and then being sat in the dressing room, and you were in there at the time as well after the show in Birmingham, and he'd never met Axl Rose before. And that was weird. I just assumed that
Really?
Dad
Dad had
never met Axl before, and it was like they were just. I
After
think
all
it was.
those years?
I think it was in the 80s that they were probably, I think people probably kept them at a distance because they were both so fucking
Nuts.
mad in their own ways. It could have just gone horribly wrong.
Yes, that's a very accurate statement, I think.
So, but they never met each other. Obviously, Slash and Dan are very good friends. But then, you know, he knows James Hetfield very well. But James is coming in and sitting on one knee and just, you know, literally thanking him for everything and just saying, thank you for everything, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here doing what we've done. This is all because of you. Thank you. You know, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that as well. To think that those kind of people are coming in
Yeah.
and saying that to him, it's just like, okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, think about
It's so amazing. And isn't that typical? After your passing, you really get to know a person's impact on others. It's just like so unfair that this is discovered after their passing. But I absolutely love Louis Osbourne. I think he's so genuine. I love his laughter. I love the way he tells stories. He's very good at storytelling and telling his upbringing, and he's so respectful to Ozzy. And I just love this segment of the podcast. I totally, completely recommend you to watch this. I mean, just like it must like being the sons of Ozzy Osbourne after the Back to the Beginning concert and seeing your dad being the king of hard rock, being the king of heavy metal, and just like James Hetfield and Axl Rose and everybody coming backstage. They know who came backstage and just like paying their respect. Like, and they got their audience. I'm not sure what that's called, but when you get the golden ticket to meet the king, and they got the golden ticket to meet the king of rock. I mean, like nobody will ever succeed Ozzy Osbourne. There will never ever be another Ozzy Osbourne on the planet. And what I think is so amazing is just like the younger generation as well knows Ozzy Osbourne. He was just one of a kind. Okay. So please let me know in the comments what you think about this podcast, this episode, and what you think about Louis Osbourne. Isn't he cool? Isn't he a clone of his dad? Hasn't he just like the best laughter? Isn't he just like down to earth? I really love him. I really love him. I would like to go on a pub and drink. I don't drink pints, but I would drink some wine with him and just like talk and talk and talk. I think he's hilarious to spend the night on the pub with. Okay, until next time. Bye bye.